Welcome back to another exciting episode of Mixing It Up podcast. I'm your host, Will, alongside my co host, Quinn. Today, we have a truly special episode lined up for everyone. We are honored to be joined by one incredible duo who is making a real impact in our community and across the great state of Texas. First, we will proudly to welcome Chief of Staff Farrell Clark, a dedicated leader and public servant committed to helping shape our policies and serve the people of Texas. Joining him is the one and only Texas House Representative Josie Garcia, who proudly represents District 124 and continues to be a strong voice for her constituents and communities throughout the district. In this episode, we'll be discussing leadership, public service, the challenges and opportunities faces Texans today, and the work beginning done to create a brighter future for our community. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an informative and inspiring conversation. This is an episode you don't want to miss. Welcome to Mixing It Up Podcast. Miss Josie, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Will and Quinn, for having us here. I'm Texas State Representative Josie Garcia. I represent House District 124, which is San Antonio's far west side. If you think SeaWorld, Lackland Air Force Base, 151, 90, Highway 90, even Marbach. Marbach is a central part of my district. I'm so proud to be the first and only woman veteran to ever serve in the Texas legislature. And I am the secretary of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, the secretary of the Texas LGBTQ Caucus, as well as the whip of the House Democratic Caucus and the Mexican American Legislative Caucus. And along with that, Pharaoh and I do community work and community outreach, not only locally but internationally with search, rescue, recovery, and humanitarian operations. And we're just a one stop shop of public service.
Nice.
Nice.
Farrell, introduce yourself.
My name is Farrell Clark. I'm the Chief of Staff for Texas State Representative Josie Garcia. But more importantly than that, I'm a community activist and a civil rights activist, which is where our heart really is, and where we kind of really got our teeth cut and got into this in the first place. Proud to be archived by the Whitty Museum for the work that we've done across the city of San Antonio, and honored to be able to serve alongside Representative Garcia in truly shaping policy. What we did was what we always call protest to policy, which took the work that we were doing out in the street, but formulated a way to really impact policy and law changes, which to us is really kind of like where the rubber meets the road when it comes to civil rights and really just human rights in general.
Very nice. Very
Very
nice.
nice. Very nice.
Go ahead, Quinn.
All right. So, can you walk our listeners through what a typical looks like for you both when you're in house session meetings or constituent meetings? What does it look like for you in a typical week? What's the daily routine?
Pharaoh, I'll let you start with that and I'll fill in.
So for me, there's no daily routine. That's one of the things that for me is so exciting about it. I've always had like ADHD, so I'm always hyperactive. I have a million things going on at one time. And so this work has been kind of rewarding in the sense that it's like that. No 2 days are the same. It's going to be curveballs thrown at you all the time. You're constantly, working and doing. But if I was to give you any kind of general idea of what a day is like, it starts with literally waking up every day at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, going through the schedule and the agenda of what we have to do. Every day we have no less than 3 events that will be at per day. Usually it goes up to 6 or 7 events that we'll do a day. And that can consist of lunches, breakfast. We do a thing where we meet our constituents. So if a constituent calls and wants to meet with us, we typically don't have them come to the office. We'll meet them at like a local coffee shop, a taco shop, and we'll buy breakfast or lunch, and we'll sit down and just talk to them through their problems. And so our day usually consists of a few of those. as well as then our official meetings that we have to have, whether it be with other elected officials or other organizations, companies that we're trying to kind of learn best practices, how we can benefit them through legislation. So it's literally, it runs the gambit. I'll be on the phone at 7 in the morning taking a call from a constituent who maybe has an issue with the loved one who's in jail and they need them brought closer to home. And then we can go right back to a funeral. And then we can go from a funeral back to going to honor somebody at the Capitol. Then we can go from going to honor someone at the Capitol to coming right back to San Antonio to go to an HOA meeting. I mean, it's a lot. But like I said, I find it to be really rewarding because you truly get to see the impact that you make. Just recently, we had a situation that was sad. A man, he was incarcerated and he was dying of stage 4 cancer, and we were able to make the calls and get him released to his family. And so, things like that, they make you feel like you are making an impact, and it keeps you motivated, that no matter how many curveballs come and no matter how crazy the days may be, that you're truly making a difference.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Definitely.
Miss Josie.
So, day in the life of legislator. Okay, so when we're in session, I'll focus on in session because I think this is what is the most important part for our communities to understand what the legislature really is, right? So we impact the laws for the state of Texas. I'm talking every law from getting pulled over to, funding for housing for our homeless population, workforce development, infrastructure, energy. I'm proud to be the only woman on the energy committee for the state of Texas. Not only that, but I'm the only veteran. So I want to paint a picture for y'all. As a proud veteran, I served in the United States Air Force and, had the opportunity to serve during Operation Iraqi Freedom. My husband's a Purple Heart veteran. We generally, especially representing San Antonio, which is Military City, USA, the military doesn't get involved with partisan politics. It's just, we've never been conditioned to even pay attention to partisan politics. The only thing that we do is generally vote for our commander in chief. And so coming from being a community activist and an advocate, and you guys got to think, 20 years of the military telling us what to read, what we can wear, what color nails I can have, how to do my makeup, how to wear my hair. Like literally every little thing is scrutinized when you're in the military. And so I found a voice as an activist to where I can leverage being military because people would actually give me a pause to listen. And let's think about that. It was this advocacy in particular came up where Pharaoh and I met during the George Floyd apocalyptic event that was also in hand with COVID. What we witnessed, especially if you were a veteran who has served overseas, who volunteered to give your life up for freedom, and you see something of that magnitude happening in your own communities, I put my combat boots on. I was like, oh, hell no, there's no way I'm going to be out fighting in other people's countries, fighting for security, for civil rights, for justice, and be at home complacent. And trust and believe me, y'all, it's very difficult. Texas state legislators only get paid $600 a month to be legislators. So I want you to think about that. With the amount of work that we have to do and the amount of scrutiny that we get, our personal lives are torn apart. People are looking for any way to demean us, to demean where we came from. And so when it came time to run for office, we had a serious conversation. And one thing that I vowed I would never do is live in shame of who I was, where I come from, or who I represent. I come from a background where I was a foster child at many times in my life. I grew up in a very tumultuous world, being biracial at a time where it was pretty much illegal. I told a story the other day of my mother and I being trapped in a Klan rally in the early 80s and really seeing this up close and in person, and then having to navigate looking the way I do in a world that was very black and white. And that's where I think Pharaoh and I coming together was very important, because we were able to take our advocacy and say, you know what? We are who we are, unapologetic. We're not coming here to wear the kind of clothes you all wear. We're not here to sound the way you do. We're here to represent a demographic of people who have never been represented because we were always told we weren't worthy enough. So when I talk to people about what it looks like at the Capitol, I'm from the streets. I come from a very, very deep background to where I was a girl who ran around with the boys in the streets. I was always real tough. And then coming from being an advisor to the Iraqi military, you look at everybody who's on the playing field. There's 150 members. 10 of us have ever served in uniform. How am I going to make an impact? I had to figure out how we're going to bring the Crips and Bloods together. Right? I have to understand the respect of what it is to navigate as a Crip or as a Blood. And I'm using Crips and Bloods analogies because we're in a very red and blue world right now. And our community doesn't really understand what either stand for. And so when we are there, I'm trying to figure out how can I make sure that I'm bringing Crips and Bloods together to make sure that we're making good impact and good legislation for Texans as a whole. Now, I will tell you, so many people, Pharaoh, tell me if I'm wrong. So many people thought we was crazy.
Still do.
People told us that we didn't belong in the Capitol.
Mhm.
People told us that because I was an Afro-Latina, that I couldn't represent a Latino community.
Could not have a Black chief of staff.
And people said that because I had a Black chief of staff, that he wouldn't be accepted at the Capitol. We said, all right, well, guess what? If I go, he goes. And if he don't go, I don't go. And that is what it is because we can walk away from these seats. This isn't something that we've built our whole personas on. We've built our personas off of telling y'all day one as activists that we were taking protest to policy. If people weren't doing the work we needed, we would be there to do that. With that diplomacy in mind, our first session, I was named Freshman of the Year for the entire House Democratic Caucus. I was able to pass 30 bills into law, whether I authored or joint authored. And I'm pressed to think that maybe we have made, a very distinct record in the House of Representatives in our short time of serving. So I could go on, but that's just a little tidbit on how community activism and advocacy helps impact and change legislation.
Well, I think we can just wrap it up right there, man.
I told you she's powerful. I told you these two are powerful. I've warned you. These two are powerful people.
I love what each of you said about fighting for the community, and salute to service. Thank you for your service, Ms. Josie, in the military. I am a military brat. So my dad was in the military for 25 plus years, so I see the sacrifice and service. But you two are phenomenal. We can wrap up the episode right there. Well, I'll have more questions. I think we answered everything.
I know she covered a lot.
She sure did.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question for you, Ms. Josie. Many families are concerned about the rising cost of living. What solutions do you believe can help working families in Texas?
I'm not exempt from that.
Oh, I know you're not
exempt from that at all. I have 8 children. I have 2 children in college. We live, my husband and I, as I mentioned to y'all, we make $600 a month as a legislator. Like it's almost criminal, right? But we are blessed to be disabled veterans and we get our military disability. This is what allows me to actually be able to serve as a legislator. But let me tell you what, my electric bill is no less than $500 a month, no less, with the amount of people I have in my family. It feels horrible right now. My sister DoorDashes and Ubers. Like we're a blended family. Like to say that Texas is the richest, one of the richest states in this entire nation. We could arguably be our own country and be okay. We have not only, and I want to lay this out for y'all too, for everybody who's in Texas, who's worried about making ends meet, I want to lay some facts out for you all. Not only does Texas have a multi-billion-dollar budget, we also have a multi-billion-dollar savings account. But I got a better one for you. Not only do we have a multi-billion-dollar savings account, we have a multi-billion-dollar rainy day account. And I'm sorry, it's been raining in Texas for a long time. We need that help now. Another thing that's stopping Texans from being able to get what they need, as you know, our federal government has been cutting benefits like you would not believe. And the thought behind that just wrecks the imagination. And the fact that there are millions of dollars in free health care for Texans right now. There's a piggy bank that says free millions of dollars of health care for Texans, and it's sitting there. All our governor has to do is say, yes, let's take that. We have the highest uninsured population in this nation. We have the lowest paid teachers and workforce in this nation. We have a government that is looking at all these piggy banks on the shelf and watching the communities starve, watching the communities beg for just the basic necessities. What I want to tell y'all, I'm not going to, there's a term about it raining, you know, and being dishonest. I'm not going to be that person to be dishonest with you all. We are in a national crisis. We're in a national crisis because this division that's happening federally, this division of people is working exactly as it's designed. Because if we're not hungry, we're not scraping the bottom of the barrel, then there's nothing to fight for. There's nothing to fight over. Keep your wretched masses tired and hungry. That's what fuels our prison industrial system. Because 9 times out of 10, when people are out there hustling, it's because they got to feed their family. 9 times out of 10, when people are out there shoplifting and stealing food, I'm sorry, I don't know many people who are going to shove steaks down their pants and risk catching a felony charge. You know, people are legitimately hungry. And instead of having logical solutions, we're incarcerating them and making being poor criminal. So if you want to make a difference in that, the only way we're going to make a difference is by getting to the polls and letting your voices be heard. And I know a lot of times we feel like our voices are never heard, y'all. There's some hooter fluter and some goofy stuff that's happening out there within politics. But until we come together and stand up and rise up, it's just going to get worse.
100%.
Very much true.
I could not agree more. We do have the lowest paid of the teachers. I'm an educator myself for Northside, so I understand the low pay when it comes to that. Yes, definitely.
Since you brought up education, since education remains a major topic across Texas, what changes and improvements would you like to see in our schools and our education system?
How about just baseline, basic funding equity? I mean, is that asking for too much? That the richest state in this nation, if not the richest state in this nation, can't just pay our teachers a working salary? You know, let's talk about law enforcement for a second. Let's talk about law enforcement, because this is dual, especially with us being military, having military backgrounds. You know, as police accountability activists, which is what Pharaoh and I started our advocacy as and continue to be to this day, our advocacy is wrapped around you have an oath and an honor to your badge, right? You can't just, you know, dishonor the badge, bop people upside the head and not be held accountable for it. That's where our advocacy came in. But we know military and first responders, law enforcement are kindred spirits in terms of our service and the service that is intended to be applied to the community. It is so disturbing for me to see states like Florida posting billboards in San Antonio to hire deputies and to hire law enforcement, to see FBI big old signs to hire our talent at over $100,000. Like they're posting what was it, Pharaoh? About $150,000 they were
I don't
posting
remember. It
at
was a
starting
lot. It was something that definitely we as a city weren't matching.
at starting wages, when our starting wages here are in the 50,000s, the 60,000s. So not only can we not help bring up our own, but we're being poached by other states because we can't just give an equitable an equitable pay. That's why we have problems with quality of force. People are only going to be so qualified and so wanting to do the job right and well if they're being fairly compensated for it. I'm pressed to find an officer that services San Antonio that doesn't have a second part-time gig. I'm pressed to find our military sergeants. I was a staff sergeant when I was a staff sergeant and had 4 children, to include my brother that I was raising. I qualified for WIC and food stamps. Our teachers are door dashing. Our teachers are expected to be disciplinarians in a classroom that has 50 students, 1 teacher, and a teacher's aide who is an intern from college. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of equity that needs to be had. I do want to say that Texas had the hugest voucher fight in the world, right? This voucher fight was the privatization of Texas dollars, taxpayer dollars, to fund private school. Well, here's the thing. If public schools had been properly funded, that fight wouldn't have been the fight that it was. But in order to get everything that they wanted, they made sure to take as much as they could from the public school funding to give bare bottom of the barrel returns on teacher raises. Let's talk about cost of living insurance for retired teachers. Retired teachers don't get Social Security. Think about all our senior teachers. Senior citizens worked in the schools for 50 years. They don't qualify for Social Security. They pay to the Texas teachers retirement system, and they didn't see a cost of living increase in 20 years. I want to turn this over to Pharaoh real quick, to where we're talking about school closures, because Pharaoh sat on the San Antonio Independent School District's repurposing committee to discuss the 20 plus schools that have been closed in San Antonio. Now, there's 2 reasons for that I want people to be aware of. Number one, the baby boomers. There was a point in time, which kind of like we're on it now after COVID, right? Where people were having all these children. And you got to think, our grandparents were having 9, 10 children. Then the baby booms happen. All these kids need to go to school. So we build the schools for all this influx of children. Well, guess what happens then? Gen X generation comes in. Or Gen Z. Am I Gen X? No, I'm Gen X. Okay. So Gen X generation comes in, and we're like, hold up, we ain't having all these babies. We're not going to have all these babies. We'll have 2 to 3 babies and go to college first. Right? So now we're telling all this generation, hey, you go to college first. Don't worry about having kids until later in life. So guess what? Now there's no more kids to put into all of those schools like that. But you know what we are missing? Nursing homes for our baby boomers now. So I'll turn this over to Pharaoh. He could talk more to you about the repurposing.
Well, the only thing that I was going to add on the education part is that, for me, just speaking as me, I feel that we as a people are not paying attention enough. I look at everything, or almost everything, from a civil rights lens. And when I see what's going on with the schools, not only in Texas, but even across our nation, it really has me worried and keeping a close eye, because I'm starting to believe that there's more at play behind a lot of what's going on with our schools. And I believe that we're slowly being convinced against our public schools, but if we're not too careful, we may end up losing our public schools. And what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of these people in power never wanted us to have those opportunities in the first place. And so when you look at the slow, deliberate attacks, first this parent right argument where they're saying, hey, these schools they're teaching your kids things that, you don't want them learning. You got to watch these schools. And we're concerned. We went and met with the schools personally. They're like, we're teaching the same stuff we've always taught. We don't know where this rhetoric is coming from, but it kept coming. They're teaching them, we're teaching them A through Z. They're doing this, they're doing that. And all these people started turning against our schools, pulling their kids out, putting them in charter schools or specialty schools, not to demonize any school, but it was, again, a slow, deliberate, in my opinion, little things that you started to see. You started to see the school lunch argument come up. Now they don't want to pay for school lunches. Well, we understand that there's many kids that the only time they eat is at school during those lunches. So you're now taking that away from an entire population of people. You have started then hearing the stories about the vouchers. So you don't want to feed kids that have no money to eat, but you don't mind paying $10,000 for this kid to go to a private school. Something's not adding up with the story. Clearly, there's money to pay 10,000 per student to go to a private school, then there's money to make sure every kid can eat. What I feel is happening is a slow, deliberate pullback of the very things that started our public education system. And before you know it, you watch out and you walk into a place where if you can't afford to go to school, you just don't go to school. And so, again, I don't think we're there yet. But when you look at all the different deliberate attacks and you look at everything that's been going on under the current administration, you'll see that there's been a rollback in almost every gain that we've had since that civil rights era. And I think these attacks that we're seeing on school is nothing less than another attack, but masked in the sense, even if you look at all these TEA takeovers where they're coming in, they're setting up these ridiculous metrics for the school to pass. When the schools don't pass those metrics, they come in and say, okay, we'll take over the school and send your board home. You know, I just feel that it's one of those things that we as a people have to keep our eye on and really lock down on what's really going on in our education system. Is it failing because it needs to be revamped, or is it failing because it's being designed to fail?
I
Which then ties right back into the economics, which ties right back into our low wages, which ties right back into keeping us where you want us because we're at the very low on the worker standpoint. We're really just there to be, to fill up the hospitality industry, to fill up these low wage jobs, to keep the money moving for the upper class that are really here enjoying the real fruits of that money that Texas has to offer. But if you look at it, it's the very few enjoying the real fruits, and the bottom are really kind of fit to serve.
I completely agree. We have seen a new superintendent at SISD now by the name of Anthony Jarrett. Dr. Kraft from NISD has retired early, and so now Northside is looking for a new superintendent. But I completely agree with everything you just said. Spot on. Spot on.
very much so.
Yes.
For young people who may be considering a career in public service or politics, what lessons have you and learned that you would like to share with them? I would like to start with you, Flora.
I would say don't wait. Get involved. I it was in 2017 was when I first got involved. It was behind the death of a lady that was protesting at one of these Confederate statues, and they were protesting for the right to have the statue removed. And a car drove through the crowd, ran over, and killed this lady. This was the first time I kind of got involved. And then 2020, I came back again after the murder of George Floyd, and I'm sitting at home, I'm watching it on TV, and I'm like, "Are you joking?" I'm like, like enough is enough. And I'm just like, why is no one speaking out? And then that moment of realization hit me. That's like, well, why aren't you speaking out? Why are you, who are you that you're so comfortable to sit down and watch and wait for someone else? If you really care, get up and do something about it yourself. And that's what spurred me to get out of bed and to go down and to start kind of really pushing, fighting. And it changed my life, and it changed many other people's life that were blessed to be impacted by the work that we've done. But the biggest thing that it showed me is that we have to stop doubting ourselves, not only individually, but as a people. We sit back and we're like, we don't have the pedigree, we don't have the degrees, we don't come from the family, we don't have the money, we don't. Well, you can make a million excuses, but the reality is none of that stops you from pushing because now we sit in one of the highest spots to be able to impact change, and neither one of us come from that type of background or have that type of pedigree or have that type of family. It's literally just we got off our butts and said, hey, we need to do something about that. We can no longer just sit back and wait for others. We have to be that voice. And so for me, I would encourage others, and that's why it was important for me. Everybody told me, oh, cut your hair, or take your earrings out, or, you know, if you just stop wearing the fedora, if you just do, and I'm like, no, because what example would that be to other people that you cannot just be you and make a difference? And this is why so many of us are scared to try to make a difference. We're scared because we believe that we are not enough. And today we have to stop believing that we are more than enough. There's a reason why the enemy has been formed against us, and it's to keep you down. And you don't form against people who are weak. You form against people who you know are powerful. We have to start reclaiming that power. We have to start being in these spaces that even when they feel uncomfortable, because they're only as uncomfortable as we allow them to be.
Very much so.
Miss Josie, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say there's no time is the right time. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, sometimes you got to take the leap of faith and understand that we're the messengers of something greater, right? There's a lot of bad things that are happening, but at the same time, if you look at history and you see what history has taught us, we are a very resilient people and we've already won all these battles before. So if you're interested literally in getting involved in public service, please reach out to us, reach out to Will, reach out to Quinn. We'll be happy to do another event to talk more about how you can do that. Look, be as transparent as you can about your own stuff, y'all. I remember the first time I shared on a public stage that I have a juvenile incarceration record. I think Pharaoh may have passed out 35 times within that moment, because it was like one of those things to where, how far do we go to really be transparent? When is telling enough too much, right? But the one thing that I found in our dynamic is that we would find ourselves in rooms with people to where you can feel people's energy and how they treat you. And one thing that I never wanted people to do was treat Pharaoh like he was the criminal, because we'll hear all these different things. Oh, he looks like a pimp. Oh, this and that. And I had to snatch the Band-Aid off of people and let them know, hey, you might want to hold your phone a minute, because between me and Pharaoh, I'm ventured to say that, I might be the first one to get a little bit rowdy out of the both of us. But at the same time, I thought it was important for me to share my incarceration history, because when people looked at me, they saw something different, right? Oh, she's a veteran. Oh, my physical appearance, they make all these, assumptions about who I am. But when I stood up there and I proudly told them I was incarcerated multiple times as a juvenile, one thing I didn't do, the other things I did. Because at the end of the day, we're taught to be held down by our shame of our past. The first thing people ask you when you run for office or you apply for a job, where are you from? I couldn't tell people legitimately where I came from because I went to 14 different schools. Up and down the East Coast, New York, North Carolina, Florida, Detroit, Tennessee, you pick your poison. Who are your parents? My mother went through a lot. She was in the streets. My father went through a lot. He was in the streets. I grew up at the goodwill of people who would take me. I went through all those things that people told me I should be ashamed about. I failed seventh grade. I failed seventh grade because I didn't go to school because I didn't have to. I dropped out of college multiple times because it wasn't for me. I have a community college degree. I'm a proud graduate of Alamo Community Colleges, Northwest Vista. I had so many credits from going to so many different schools in the military that I earned my liberal arts degree. My predecessor's a lawyer who went to Notre Dame. Could you think about how that made me feel when I thought if I was worthy to run for that seat? When I did my research into who held the seat before me, a lawyer who went to Notre Dame, and I'm coming over here with my military experience, my horrible background, my incarceration, and my liberal arts associate's degree. Yes, I am, because we're still worthy. And we've proven that we've broke the mold in the Texas Capitol, y'all. We have been able to break the mold in so many ways. Pharaoh can tell y'all, there's not one office in that Capitol that won't smile ear to ear when we show up. They may be like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because they know when we come, we mean business, right? But we have thrived on our community service by building allyships. We can't spend all of our time telling people what's wrong with them because we all know of that House of Representatives, we know that there's 88 of them that fundamentally we don't jive with their politics. But I also know of those 88, the vast majority will step up and help us on a piece of legislation if we need it. So we got to think battlefield strategy, y'all. We can't go in there wanting to shoot everybody down, wanting to tear the house down, wanting to call everybody everything but a son of Christ. But we do hold them accountable to manipulating the name of the Lord Jesus Christ for bad will. We do hold them accountable for hugging on our Muslim brothers and then going and stabbing them in the back in the next meeting, talking about Islamophobia, which is one of the big agendas that's coming to Texas this next session. Not only that, redistricting is also another fight that's coming to Texas, which is one that we just went through. And we need all boots on the ground for this. We need you up at the legislature. We need you sending Will and Quinn ideas on different laws that we can change. Because our legislation in the House of Representatives from our office is what we call community-led legislation. It's people that are watching right here with us that say, hey, you know what? This is a barrier that's keeping me from being able to be an entrepreneur. This is a barrier that's keeping my children from getting a quality education. This is a barrier that's keeping us from getting government contracts as Black-owned businesses. You know, all of those things, reach out to us. Let us know how we can help, because together, that's how we're going to make a true impact. And that's how you get involved in public service in action now.
She said it all, Will. See, I have to say we are extremely grateful and honored and blessed to have you two terrific, powerful individuals on this platform. This really means a lot to us and to our listeners that are going to listen in later. She said it all, Will. I got nothing else, Will. I have nothing left. I answered one question and I feel good already. I feel good.
I told you these are two powerful people that I have the privilege of calling my brother and my sister. From the first day I met Pharaoh, he's always been there, supportive, no matter what we do. He's always been there. And I'm so grateful to call him a brother, not a friend, a brother. And Josie's right there, right behind him. Like, at any given time, you could ask them anything, and if they have it, they're giving it to you. They will give them your shirt off of their backs if you need it.
I'm telling you, when I move into my new house in July, I'm inviting you two over for dinner. I really am.
We'll be there.
I'm gonna cook up a nice spread. Will, he can't cook, so we'll leave.
Hey, Pharaoh could throw down though. You better watch out.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up a nice spread for you guys because I want my lovely wife to meet you, because wow, this is definitely inspiring, definitely.
No,
well, thank y'all so much. And anytime y'all want us on to talk about a topic in particular, please let us know. We're doing something major here in San Antonio and Bexar County. Not only are we working on legislation, but as I mentioned, we do search, rescue, recovery, response, humanitarian things with Uniting America Outreach, our nonprofit. We have a hangar over in Port San Antonio we've just been able to partner with. So we're going to be putting, I think, military ops, man. Think anytime something bad happens in San Antonio, we all come together. And also, we need your support, y'all. I'm running for re-election right now. You know, it's been my honor to serve, and we've got a lot of work to do. If you can visit my website, www.josie.garcia.com. You know, if you can support me in my re-election, that would be amazing. Every penny counts. You know, if there's anything that I could do for your listeners, if somebody would like to invite me in to speak or to share some of our testimony, we're here. We're here to serve.
You got my vote. You have my vote.
I'm going to end this. I'm going to ask both of y'all, one last question, because between both of y'all, I'll ask I came up with 10 questions. I couldn't even ask 3 of them because y'all covered all of them.
I
Okay.
had 12 and I only had to ask one.
So, but I greatly appreciate both of y'all. Okay. But this one, especially for both of y'all, when your time in public service is over, what legacy do you hope to leave behind for the people of District 124 and the state of Texas?
You know, to be honest with you, we're leaving a hell of a legacy right now. You know, and but when we leave office, it's just more for us to be able to expand on. You know, we do international advocacy right now. We do community advocacy, as you know. But I think if we could ever feel like we've really, really done our thing, it would be we need to build more candidates out there that can run for office. We need to have a network of youth. Think of Spiderweb. When we're not there leading anymore, we need to make sure we're empowering our youth to take those seats to continue the work that we've already done. The last thing we want to do is leave office and then it being thrown into the hands of somebody who doesn't have our community and their best interest at heart. So if you're thinking of running for office, it doesn't matter where. Please just let us know if it's something you're interested in, because that's part of our legacy, to make sure that we are able to turn out good public servants, good elected officials, and to let Bexar County know that when there's a disaster or where, something goes bad, that they know they can call Josie and Pharaoh. And that's the legacy that we've started. That's where we're building, and that's the confidence that our community has in us right now, that when the proverbial crap hits the fan, call Josie and Pharaoh and we'll be able to direct you to the people that can help.
Most definitely.
Definitely. I almost echo those exact sentiments. The only thing I'd add into that is like for me, it's important for me that when I leave, I want to hope that I've done a good enough job that the doubters, the people that didn't believe in us, the people that felt, a black man could not sit in this seat, or Latin or Afro Latina woman could not do ABC. I want to truly leave a legacy that shuts that down, but also that inspires those other kids that are sitting at home that don't have faith in themselves, that don't believe that the person on TV looks like them. I want them to look up and be able to say, wait a minute, I can do this. It doesn't matter if I have a jail record. It doesn't matter if I graduated college. It doesn't matter if I had long hair. It doesn't matter if I, A through Z. I can truly make a difference. And since we got in, that was something that's so important for me. And every time I speak, I always talk to youth about that impact of believing that it takes more, because we always are waiting on the next person, the next person. And so that legacy that I hope that people see and get and follow is that you can make a difference, not who, you. And so hopefully through the work that we do, they truly get inspired and are able to see that people that look like them, talk like them, come from their backgrounds, are out here doing amazing things, and they can do just as much, if not more.
Excellent. Excellent. Uh, can we give a round of applause for our two incredible individuals that joined this show today? Thank you so much. We are truly honored. Thank you so much.
Thank
No problem at all.
y'all.
Anytime.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
So as we wrap up today's episode of Mixing It Up podcast, we wanted to extend our sincere gratitude to our special guest, Chief of Staff Pharaoh Clark, and Texas House Representative Josie Garcia of District 124 for taking the time to join us and share their insight, experience, and vision for the future of our community and our great state of Texas. Conversations like these remind us of the importance of leadership, service, and staying engaged in the issues that impact our daily lives. We appreciate the work being done on behalf of the people of District 124 and thank our guests for providing our listeners with a deeper understanding of public service and community involvement. To everyone listening, thank you for continuing to support Mixing It Up podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and share and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Follow us on all social media and join us for the conversation as we continue to bring you engaging discussions with leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and different makers from all walks of life. From my co-host Quinn, I'm Will, and this has been another great episode of Mixing It Up podcast. And remember, no matter where you come from or where you are headed, keep mixing it up, keep learning, and keep making a positive impact.